When someone doesn't value you anymore, try this simple trick and watch what happens. Have you ever felt the sting of being undervalued? It's a sharp, subtle pain, a quiet erosion of your confidence. Maybe it's someone close, like a partner or friend, who seems to have stopped seeing your worth. Their words might still sound kind, but their actions speak louder. They cancel plans, ignore your efforts, or only show up when it's convenient for them. Call. You don't need to convince anyone of your value, nor should you exhaust yourself trying to. When someone doesn't value you anymore, the answer isn't to give more of yourself. Instead, it's to pull back. Focus on yourself and let them see what they're missing. The simple trick is shifting your energy inward. Stop seeking validation from others and start prioritizing your own growth and happiness. People are drawn to those who value themselves, and by doing this, you'll naturally attract respect, admiration, and genuine connections. This isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's about rediscovering your power and self-worth. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you'll notice a remarkable shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you see yourself. Pulling away doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing your value and refusing to let anyone take it for granted. The result? A stronger, more confident you, and a world that can't help but notice. When someone doesn't value you, it's not the end. It's a beginning. When someone doesn't value you anymore, try this simple trick and watch what happens. Sometimes life sends us hard lessons disguised as heartbreak. Being undervalued by someone you care about is one of those lessons. You invest your time, energy, and emotions, hoping that your efforts will be appreciated. But instead, you're met with indifference, neglect, or even outright disrespect. This scenario is more common than you might think. It happens in romantic relationships, friendships, family dynamics, and even in professional environments. It's a universal experience, and yet it feels intensely personal when it happens to you. But here's the secret. This moment isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build you. When someone doesn't value you anymore, the solution isn't to prove your worth to them. It's to prove your worth to yourself. The power of this mindset shift cannot be overstated. When you stop chasing, you force people to confront the gap you leave behind. And when you pour your energy into your own growth, you transform not just for yourself, but in the eyes of everyone around you. Let's explore this in depth. Why being undervalued hurts so much. The pain of being undervalued cuts deep because it attacks something fundamental, your sense of self-worth. As social beings, we crave connection, appreciation, and recognition. When someone you value no longer reciprocates, it feels like a rejection of who you are. This is why it's so tempting to overcompensate. You might start trying harder, giving more, and bending over backward to earn their attention or approval. But here's the problem. The harder you try, the less they value you. Why? Because desperation is not attractive. When you chase someone who undervalues you, you unintentionally reinforce their behavior. You send the message that you're willing to tolerate being taken for granted. This creates a vicious cycle where your self-esteem erodes and their respect for you diminishes further. Breaking this cycle is the key to regaining control, not just over the situation, but over your life. The power of pulling back. Imagine you're holding a rope in a tug-of-war. On the other side is the person who doesn't value you. The harder you pull, the harder they resist. Now, imagine letting go of the rope. What happens? The dynamic shifts entirely. This is the essence of the trick. Stop pulling. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you create space. In that space, two things happen. First, you give yourself room to heal, grow, and rediscover your strength. Second, you force the other person to confront the consequences of their actions, or lack thereof. In this way, suffering has been seen as a necessary part of life, and first moves us forward more slowly and with intention. Pulling back doesn't mean cutting someone off completely, unless the situation calls for it. It means redirecting your energy. Instead of focusing on what they're not giving you, focus on what you can give yourself. Shifting your energy inward. When was the last time you truly focused on yourself? Often, when we're undervalued, we spend so much energy trying to fix the relationship that we neglect our own needs. This is your chance to change that, in identifying areas of your life that need attention. Is there a passion you've put on hold? A goal you've been procrastinating on? Relationships with others who genuinely care about you that you've neglected? Use this time to reconnect with yourself. Take care of your health, both physical and mental. Learn something new, pursue a hobby, or set a personal challenge. Every step you take towards self-improvement sends a powerful message. I am worth investing in. The beauty of this process is that it not only helps you grow, but also shifts the way others perceive you. Confidence, self-respect, and independence are incredibly attractive qualities. Ken seems impressed with Cece. What happens when you change the dynamic? When you pull back and focus on yourself, the dynamic between you and the other person changes. Suddenly, they're no longer the center of your world. This can be jarring for them, especially if they've grown accustomed to your constant attention. Some people will start to realize what they've lost. They'll miss the effort, care, and presence you once gave freely. This might prompt them to reevaluate their behavior and try to reconnect with you. Chapter 6. Access possibilities. Others might not react at all, and that's okay. Their lack of response is a clear sign that they were never meant to be a part of your journey. Exercise disease is linked to exercise warmth, heart physique, and health. The beauty of this trick is that it puts the power back in your hands. Whether they come back or not, you win. You've regained your self-worth, grown as a person, and set a standard for how you deserve to be treated. Learning the art of emotional detachment. One of the most important skills you'll need to master is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means learning to separate your sense of self-worth from how others treat you. Detachment starts with understanding that you can't control other people's actions, only your response to them. Instead of reacting emotionally to being undervalued, take a step back and ask yourself, what is this teaching me about my boundaries, my values, and my needs? A detached approach, thanks to mindfulness, is at the heart of detachment. Acknowledging your feelings is a sign of weakness, while also addressing your responsibilities and your contribution. Create a mental boundary between your emotions and their behavior. Remind yourself that their inability to see your worth doesn't diminish it. You are still valuable, worthy, and deserving of respect. This life is full of traits like this. We have at first entry and exit from the world. Emotional detachment also involves letting go of expectations. Release the need for them to change or apologize. Focus instead on your own growth and happiness. Rebuilding your confidence. Being undervalued can take a toll on your confidence. To rebuild it, start by celebrating small wins. Every time you take a step towards self-improvement, acknowledge it. Whether it's completing a workout, learning a new skill, or simply saying no to something that doesn't serve you, these moments matter. Surround yourself with positivity. Spend time with people who uplift and inspire you. Consume content that motivates you, whether it's books, podcasts, or videos. Affirmations can also be a powerful tool. Remind yourself daily of your worth. Say things like, "I am enough," "I deserve respect and love," and "I am in control of my happiness." As your confidence grows, you'll notice a shift in how you carry yourself. And when you exude confidence, others can't help but notice. The role of boundaries in self-respect. Boundaries are essential in any relationship. They define what you're willing to accept and what you're not. When someone doesn't value you, it's often a sign that your boundaries need to be reinforced or redefined. Start by identifying where your boundaries have been crossed. Have you been saying yes to things you should have said no to? Have you been tolerating disrespect or neglect? Once you've identified the issues, communicate your boundaries clearly. You don't have to be confrontational. A simple, calm statement like, "I need to feel respected in this relationship," can be enough. Enforcing boundaries takes courage, especially if you're used to putting others' needs before your own. But remember, setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. The ultimate outcome. When you master this trick, you'll notice profound changes, not just in your relationships, but in every aspect of your life. You'll feel stronger, more confident, and more in control. You'll attract people who genuinely value you and let go of those who don't. And the best part? You'll realize that your worth was never dependent on someone else's recognition. It was always within you. Understanding why people stop valuing you. One of the most challenging truths to face is understanding why someone no longer values you. It's tempting to think you've done something wrong, but the reality is often more complex. Human relationships are dynamic and constantly evolving, shaped by emotions, circumstances, and individual priorities. Sometimes the shift is gradual. People grow comfortable with your presence, assuming you'll always be there. Think about how you might stop noticing the beauty of a favorite painting after seeing it every day. Familiarity breeds comfort, but it can also breed complacency. Other times, the change happens because of external factors. Stress, work pressure, or personal struggles can cause someone to pull away or take you for granted, not because they don't care, but because their focus is elsewhere. Then there's the harsh reality. Not everyone will appreciate what you bring to the table. Some people will only value you as long as it serves their interests. When that changes, so does their behavior. Instead of internalizing their actions as a reflection of your worth, view them as a reflection of their priorities or emotional maturity. This shift in perspective is powerful. It allows you to stop blaming yourself and start focusing on what you can control, your response and your growth. The psychological power of pulling back. Pulling back isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's rooted in a psychological principle. Scarcity creates value. When something is always available, people take it for granted. But when it's scarce or harder to obtain, its value increases. This concept applies to relationships too. When you're always available, physically, emotionally, or mentally, it's easy for others to assume you'll always be there. By pulling back, you create space and remind them of your worth. Pulling back doesn't mean disappearing completely. It means redirecting your energy toward yourself and your priorities. Stop being the one who always texts first, makes plans, or accommodates others at your expense. Instead, focus on activities and goals that bring you joy and fulfillment. This shift is often met with surprise. People start noticing your absence and questioning why things feel different. Their curiosity is a natural reaction to the change in dynamic. You all right, Pete? But here's the important part. Pulling back isn't about getting a reaction from them. It's about reclaiming your energy and reinforcing your boundaries. If they value you, they'll make the effort to reconnect. If they don't, you'll have already taken the first steps toward moving on. The importance of self-reflection during this process. Self-reflection is a critical step when someone doesn't value you. It's easy to place all the blame on them. But true growth comes from examining your own patterns and behaviors. Ask yourself these questions. Have I been over-giving in this relationship? Am I seeking validation from them instead of validating myself? Have I communicated my needs and boundaries clearly? Sometimes our own actions contribute to the dynamic. For example, if you've been overly accommodating, you may have unintentionally taught them to take you for granted. Recognizing this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about understanding what you can do differently moving forward. Self-reflection also helps you identify your non-negotiables. What do you truly need from a relationship or friendship? What behaviors are you unwilling to tolerate? Write these insights down. Journaling can be a powerful tool for self-awareness. Over time, you'll start noticing patterns, not just in this situation, but in others as well. This awareness empowers you to break free from cycles of being undervalued and build healthier, more fulfilling relationships. How to rebuild your self-worth after feeling undervalued. When someone doesn't value you, it can leave you questioning your worth. But your value isn't determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you treat yourself. Start by reaffirming your self-worth. Look in the mirror and remind yourself of your strengths, achievements, and unique qualities. Make this a daily practice until it becomes second nature. Engaging activities that boost your confidence. This could be anything from working out to pursuing a hobby or learning a new skill. The goal is to focus on what makes you feel accomplished and fulfilled. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. Spend time with friends and family who genuinely appreciate you. Their positivity will reinforce your sense of self-worth. Set new goals and challenges for yourself. Personal growth is one of the most empowering things you can invest in. Whether it's starting a new project, improving your fitness, or expanding your knowledge, every step forward builds your confidence. Remember, self-worth is an inside job. It's not about waiting for someone else to recognize your value. It's about recognizing it yourself. So, the ripple effect of focusing on yourself. When you shift your focus inward, the changes ripple outward. People notice when you're thriving. Your energy, confidence, and self-assurance become magnetic. Think of someone you admire. Chances are, they exude a sense of purpose and self-respect. This is the effect you create when you prioritize yourself. Focusing on yourself also sets a standard for how others treat you. It shows them that you value your time, energy, and well-being. As a result, they are more likely to value these things too. Sometimes, this ripple effect brings people back into your life with a newfound appreciation for you. Other times, it attracts new people who align with your growth. Either way, you're surrounded by relationships that enhance your life rather than drain it. Footnote: the most important outcome, however, is internal. By focusing on yourself, you build a foundation of self-worth that no one can take away. This foundation becomes your anchor, allowing you to navigate relationships with confidence and clarity. Real-life stories of transformation. Stories have a way of illustrating lessons in a relatable and inspiring way. Here are a few real-life examples of people who transformed their lives by pulling back and focusing on themselves. Consider Jane, who was stuck in a one-sided friendship. Her friend would only reach out when they needed something and often canceled plans at the last minute. Jane finally decided to stop initiating contact. Instead, she invested her time in a painting class she'd always wanted to try. Over time, she made new friends who shared her passion. Her old friend eventually noticed her absence and tried to reconnect, but by then, Jane had moved on to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Then there's Alex, who felt undervalued at work. Despite his hard work, his boss never recognized his efforts. Instead of complaining, Alex used his evenings to build a side business. Within a year, his side hustle became his full-time job, and he quit his unappreciative workplace. His former boss later reached out, impressed by Alex's success, but by then, Alex had outgrown the need for their approval. These stories highlight a universal truth. When you focus on yourself, you reclaim your power.